There are places that do not ask permission to touch our soul. Places that seem to whisper stories the world has forgotten. And today, you will feel that call. Imagine a sea so blue it seems to defy the sky itself. Islands that gleam like ancient jewels. Mountains that guard secrets forged by divine creation. And cities that have endured the weight of millennia. This is Greece, the Mediterranean paradise that insists on remaining alive. Here, every stone tells a story, every wave reveals a fragment of the past, and every wind seems to carry memories that refuse to fade. Greece is not just a destination. It is an invitation to perceive life through the eyes of those who allow themselves to feel. And maybe you have felt something similar when we explored the North Atlantic in our last episode. The whales, the volcanoes, the forces that shape the impossible. And today, we follow that same impulse of discovery. But here in the Mediterranean, creation chose another path. Instead of brute force, it carved delicacy. Instead of chaos, it shaped harmony. And it is this harmony that you are about to witness from now on. Greece lies in southeastern Europe, bathed by the Aegean, Ionian and Mediterranean seas. It has just over 10 million inhabitants, spread across mountains, valleys, and islands that total more than 6,000 pieces of land. It covers roughly 130,000 square kilometers, marked by borders with Albania, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Turkey. A small country on the map, but gigantic in history and irresistible to the soul. Throughout this documentary, you will cross regions where villages have only 1,000 or 2,000 inhabitants. Islands separated by just a few dozen kilometers. And landscapes that seem to have been carved on the first morning of the world. By the way, before moving forward, check if you are already subscribed here on the channel Our Planet. This way, you make sure you keep traveling with us, and you also help this content reach those who need this inspiration. Now take a deep breath. The blue waters of the Aegean are about to reveal more than beauty. They hold answers. And they hold memories that changed human history. In the next moments, you will step onto the point where everything began. The city you are about to visit was not defeated by time. It challenged it, and it remains alive. It is there that our journey through Greece truly awakens. Athens, the city that defied time. Athens lies in the region of Attica, in southern Greece. It is surrounded by mountains that have protected it for millennia, Hymettus, Pentelicus, Egaleo, and to the south, the sea that chose to tell stories to the wind. With nearly 4 million inhabitants in its metropolitan area, Athens is the largest urban center in the country. But curiously, its modern streets conceal entire layers of civilizations. Literally, dig into a sidewalk. You uncover a century. Here, the past does not sleep. It watches, it breathes, it waits for you. Founded more than 3,000 years ago, Athens is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth. With every step, you walk across pages that shaped the Western world. Philosophy, democracy, science, art. It all began here. And atop the sacred rock, the Acropolis dominates the horizon. 150 meters above the city, a natural altar sculpted by the Creator, firm, precise, as if it knew it would sustain ideas capable of crossing millennia. The Parthenon, dedicated to the goddess Athena, has stood since the 5th century before Christ. Built with marble from Mount Pentelicus, 16 kilometers away, a marble so white it seems to drink in the light and return it as gold at sunset. The entire complex was built in less than 15 years, an almost impossible feat for its time. And even so, each block was placed with millimetric precision, as if invisible hands guided the work. A marriage between technique and divine inspiration. Descending from the sacred rock, you arrive at the Agora, the social heart of the city. Here, Socrates walked, questioned, provoked. This is where thought became a tool, and the word, power. The Agora was more than a marketplace. It was a laboratory of ideas, where citizens debated laws, life, philosophy, the future. If technology had existed at the time, perhaps the first great public debate in human history would have taken place right here. Walking through Athens is like opening a book written in stone. At every corner, a reminder of what we once were. At every column, a warning of what we can still become. And even amid modern traffic, there is something invisible that lingers in the air. An ancient silence. And it is curious. Athens, even chaotic, still inspires serenity, perhaps because it knows how to balance the weight of its history with the lightness of its people. Temples, cafes, ruins, subways, everything exists at the same time, effortlessly. If you look at the map, Athens is the heart of a maritime network that reaches nearly all the Greek islands. From the port of Piraeus, boats depart daily for destinations just 20, 30 kilometers apart. It is as if the sea connects worlds that still live by their own rhythm. Before we leave Athens, try a simple exercise. Imagine this city at dawn, the soft light, the warm breeze, the temples awakening. And ask yourself, how many stories do you think these stones have already witnessed? And now, we are about to move on to a place where fire shaped the landscape, a destination born from a colossal explosion that transformed the Mediterranean forever. Our journey continues, and the horizon begins to change. Santorini, the scenery painted by fire. Santorini was born from a colossal explosion, a force so intense it echoed across continents. Around 3,600 years ago, the volcano of Thera collapsed, and the Mediterranean changed forever. What remained was this giant caldera, an open wound the sea filled with blue. Today, its sheer edges rise up to 300 meters high, like walls raised by the Creator to remind the world of its own fragility. Santorini belongs to the Cyclades archipelago, a circle of islands that revolves around Delos. With only 76 square kilometers, it is small in size, but immense in the sensation it awakens. Its white houses emerge like shells clinging to the cliff. Blue windows reflect the sky, and the light here seems to touch everything with a supernatural delicacy, as if time itself had slowed its pace. The capital, Thera, rests high atop the cliff. From above, the boats look like toys, floating on an indecipherable sea, and when the wind blows, it seems to carry ancient voices, telling how all of this once burned with living fire. On the other side of the island, Oya shines like a poem. Every late afternoon, hundreds of people fall silent to witness the spectacle of the sunset. And when the sun touches the sea, the houses begin to glow as if they were breathing together. Curiously, the island remains alive within. Volcanic activity has not ceased. It merely rests, monitored by scientists who study subtle changes in the ground. Santorini breathes. It always has. On the small islets of Nea Kameni and Palea Kameni, formed by recent eruptions, the land is so young it seems freshly shaped by the Creator's hands. There, the scent of sulfur reminds us that the island is a sleeping giant. And perhaps that is why so many people return. Nearly 2 million visitors each year. They seek something they cannot quite name. A peace, a silence, a feeling that everything is exactly where it should be. By the way, if this landscape has already awakened something within you, check if you have left a like on this video. It is a small gesture, but it helps the channel Our Planet continue bringing these places to the world and bringing the world to you. Now watch the sea. It appears calm, but it holds deep stories. The same waves that today caress the island once carried Minoan, Phoenician, Roman ships, civilizations that crossed these waters in search of mysteries. And if you look closely, you will notice how everything here is a symbol: the light that is reborn, the fire that sleeps, the blue that embraces the horizon. Santorini is memory and promise. But our journey continues, and now we head to an island where the wind reigns supreme, where every gust tells stories of sailors, navigators, merchants. An island that lives in motion and keeps secrets in the air. We are about to leave the fire behind and sail toward a place shaped by the wind, a destination that carries in its chest the marks of Mediterranean adventure. The line of the horizon changes, the sound of the sea transforms, and a new chapter of Greece draws near. It is time to feel the wind that has kept stories for centuries and that now blows in your direction. Mykonos, the wind that guards Mediterranean secrets. Mykonos is the land where the wind sets the rhythm of life, an island shaped by the constant breath of the Aegean Sea. Located 150 kilometers from Athens, it may seem small, but its spirit stretches across centuries. The Meltemi winds, blowing from the north, are the island's true architects. They blow fiercely in summer, sometimes reaching 50 kilometers per hour. And it was these winds that helped ancient sailors navigate through the Cyclades. That is why Mykonos became a beacon of the Mediterranean, a strategic point for maritime routes since the 10th century before Christ. Each current of air carried stories, myths, and rumors of distant lands that echoed through its harbors. And atop the hill, the famous windmills rise into view. Built in the 16th century, they were essential for grinding the wheat that fed not only the island, but entire ships on long voyages. Today, they are postcards, but once they were engines of survival. The turning wood, the grinding stones, the singing wind. All of this formed the island's economic pulse. And if you walk through the white alleys of Kora, you will notice something curious. The streets are narrow and winding, not by chance. They were designed to confuse pirates who attacked Mykonos for centuries. Arab, Venetian, Ottoman pirates all tried to dominate this strategic point, but the island endured, and its people learned to protect every corner, every harbor, every White House bathed in light. And this is where our secret word appears. a symbol of this chapter, an essence that crosses myths, winds, and Mediterranean memories. The word is Aegean. Comment only Aegean to mark that you made it this far. Now observe the sea. It is so clear that it allows you to see the shadows of ancient ships beneath the surface. It is as if time settles in layers, and each wave reveals a sleeping secret. In Mykonos, fishermen still set out at dawn. The light touches the sea, and the wind carries with it the scent of salt and the stories the sea could not keep. Here, everything feels like mystery, but it also feels like home. By the way, if you are enjoying the journey, check if you are already subscribed to the channel Our Planet. That way you keep receiving destinations like this, filled with history, beauty, and that feeling of traveling with an open heart. Mykonos is a place of passage, a bridge between worlds, and perhaps that is what fascinates so many people. Here, ancient Greece speaks with modernity, and the wind acts as a messenger between yesterday and tomorrow. But our journey does not end here. We are just a few kilometers from an island marked by enigmas, an ancient kingdom, a mysterious civilization, a place where myths took shape and stories walk upon the stones. When the wind changes direction, we will follow toward a land larger, older, deeper, an island that holds labyrinths, kings, monsters, and secrets that shape the Greek imagination. The air grows denser, the sea changes color, and the Mediterranean opens the way to our next destination. The journey continues, and now it is time to enter the realm of ancient labyrinths. Crete, the island of ancient labyrinths. Crete is the largest island in Greece, a territory spanning more than 8,000 square kilometers, washed by seas of deep blue. Its geography blends abrupt mountains, fertile plains, and stories that echo since the dawn of European civilization. It was here that the Minoan civilization flourished, considered the oldest in Europe, older than Athens, older than Rome. A people who mastered navigation and trade and built cities when the rest of the continent was still awakening. The heart of this ancient world beats in Naxos, the labyrinthine palace of the mythical king Minos. With more than 1,000 rooms, it seemed to defy architectural logic itself. Corridors crossed, rooms opened like riddles. It was from here that the legend of the Minotaur was born, the creature half man, half bull, that wandered through an endless labyrinth. Mythology may be symbolic, but Naxos is real, and walking among its ruins sends a shiver that is hard to explain. Curiously, the palace had no defenses, no walls, no towers. The Minoans believed their powerful naval fleet was the only protection they needed. And it was so respected that no city dared to challenge Crete for centuries. The frescoes found in Naxos reveal a sophisticated people. Athletes leaping over bulls, women adorned with jewelry, sailors crossing the Mediterranean. All of this more than 3,500 years ago, even before Greek writing emerged. And like every great civilization, Crete also faced the unexpected. The Minoan collapse may have been caused by the same eruption that destroyed part of Santorini. The sea advanced, cities trembled, and an era ended. But Crete was reborn. From its ruins emerged new peoples, new ports, new culture. Today, the island is home to more than 600,000 people who live between crystal-clear beaches and mountains that touch the clouds. The Ida and Dicte mountains shelter sacred caves. Mythology says Zeus was born in one of them, hidden from the fury of Kronos. Regardless of belief, it is impossible not to feel something when gazing upon the silence of these valleys. And if you explore Crete's coastline, you will find Venetian harbors, pink sand beaches, and waters whose tones range from turquoise to crystal. Each bend reveals a new landscape, a new story, a new memory kept by the sea. By the way, here's a curious fact. The city of Heraklion, the largest on the island of Crete, remained submerged for centuries. Earthquakes and tides slowly swallowed it. Only recently have archaeologists begun to reveal the secrets hidden beneath the waves. And it is this blend of myth and reality that makes Crete so unique. Here, science and legend walk side by side. Geology explains what it can, but the rest is left to the imagination. In Chania, in western Crete, history walks along the shoreline. The promenade follows the old Venetian harbor, where colorful facades reflect on calm waters. Footsteps echo on ancient stones. Boats sway gently, and time seems to choose a slower rhythm. Here, every structure carries layers of the past. Venetian arches, Ottoman influences, neoclassical houses, all coexisting in silent harmony. The lighthouse in the distance has watched for centuries, like a patient guardian of the Cretan coast. Walking along Chania's promenade is to feel Crete up close. Simple cafes, soft conversations, the scent of the sea mixed with fresh olive oil. There is no rush. only the feeling that life there unfolds at the right pace, asking nothing in return. And when the harbor fades behind us, the sea opens once more. Ahead, another island rises on the horizon, a place where marble takes the shape of myth and ancient gateways still wait in silence for those who arrive with an attentive gaze. Now watch the horizon. It begins to change. The sea grows calmer, the colors soften, and the Mediterranean seems to prepare the spirit for an island where myths remain alive in the tranquility of everyday life. We are about to leave this land of ancient labyrinths. Ahead lies a place where marble, faith, and the simplicity of villages take the form of poetry. We now move toward an island that blends history, landscape, and a silence that seems to speak to the heart. An island that breathes tradition and guards gateways to the past. Naxos, the island that still breathes myth. Naxos is the largest of the Cyclades Islands, a land where mountains rise between fertile valleys and the glow of marble seems to illuminate the very ground. Here, myth and everyday life coexist naturally, as if they had never been apart. With 440 square kilometers, Naxos is a colossus in the heart of the Aegean. Its roads wind through mountains, linking villages with centuries of history, and each turn reveals green fields, a rare exception in the arid Cyclades archipelago. The main town, Kora, holds one of the island's most striking symbols, the Portara, a giant marble gateway weighing more than 12 tons, erected around the 6th century before Christ. It faces the sea, as if waiting for someone. They say this portal was meant to be the entrance to a temple dedicated to Apollo. The temple was never completed, but the Portara remained, defying winds, storms, invasions, and today it has become the postcard image that welcomes travelers with an almost divine presence. Moving inland, Naxos reveals its agricultural soul. Here, renowned cheeses are produced, robust olives, and some of the most fragrant honey in Greece. Villages like Halki and Apeiranthos seem like living paintings, untouched by time. Apeiranthos, in particular, is unique. Its houses are built almost entirely of marble, something extremely rare in the Mediterranean. The narrow alleys gleam under the sun, creating a sense of purity, as if the light itself had chosen to dwell there. And there are traditions as well. In Naxos, ancient dances remain alive, echoing stories of peoples who crossed these waters centuries ago. The music begins, and everything seems to flow naturally, as if the island remembers who it has always been. By the way, it's worth checking if you're already subscribed to the channel Our Planet. That way you make sure you don't miss the destinations ahead, and continue traveling with us through these landscapes that blend history, beauty, and soul. Naxos also holds archaeological mysteries. In Flerio, two colossal unfinished statues, each over 5 meters tall, have lain on the ground for millennia. No one knows for certain why they were abandoned or whom they were meant to represent. The island's marble, considered among the purest in Greece, was used for sculptures that now reside in museums around the world. And most impressive of all, many of the ancient quarries are still in operation, keeping alive a tradition that has crossed eras. And then evening arrives. The sun sinks into the sea, and the Meteora becomes a perfect frame for the horizon. With every second, the colors change, and the island seems to sigh as if recognizing its own beauty. But our journey moves forward. It is time to head toward a scene that many call a miracle of the Mediterranean. A destination where the sea reaches almost unbelievable shades, where cliffs protect hidden beaches, and rare creatures appear in crystal-clear waters. Greece holds one more secret. The sea grows deeper, the blue intensifies, and the light creates new paths across the waves. Ahead, one of Greece's most astonishing treasures awaits us. Get ready, because the heart of the Mediterranean is about to reveal itself. Zakynthos, the blue abyss of the Mediterranean. Zakynthos lies south of the Ionian Sea, an island where pale cliffs plunge into waters of such an intense blue that it feels hand-picked in the creation of the world. With just over 400 square kilometers, it is a compact and powerful treasure. The island's most famous jewel is Navajo Beach, a hidden cove surrounded by limestone walls that rise more than 200 meters high. The contrast between the white rock and the fluorescent blue water creates an image that feels almost unreal. The name Navajo means shipwreck. It comes from the cargo ship Panayotis, which ran aground there in 1980. The vessel lies on the sand, as if the sea itself had decided to turn it into part of the scenery. A rusted guardian of this natural amphitheater. The color of the water is no coincidence. The limestone from the cliffs dissolves into microscopic particles, reflecting light in a unique way. That is why the sea here seems to glow from within, as if illuminated from below. An effect science can explain, but the eye never truly gets used to. Zakynthos is also a sanctuary for the loggerhead sea turtle, Crete, a species that has existed for more than 100 million years. Every year they return to the same beaches to lay their eggs in the soft sand. It is a silent movement, repeating a script written ages ago. In the National Marine Park of Zakynthos, biologists monitor nests, roots, temperatures, every egg counted, every nest protected. It is as if humanity, for a few moments, recognizes the privilege of caring for what it did not create. Sailing through the blue caves, caverns carved by the patience of the sea, light enters through narrow openings and explodes into reflections on the walls. White rock, electric blue water. Everything seems to breathe together in the same rhythm. Throughout the day, these colors change. In the morning, the blue is gentle. At midday, it becomes almost fluorescent. By late afternoon, it gains depth, as if the sea were storing the light for the next day. In Limnionis, a narrow arm of the sea cuts into the rock, creating a small, silent fjord. The waters are green and deep. The echo of the waves seems to rise from within the stone. It is the kind of place where time slows down and the mind follows. Farther ahead, Campi offers a natural lookout. From the top of the cliffs, you can watch the sun lie down over the Ionian Sea. The water turns golden, shadows stretch, and the horizon slowly dissolves. One of those moments when the entire world seems to fit inside a single breath. Zakynthos is made of contrasts. Deep abysses and calm coves, protected wildlife, and villages that remain discreet. It is as if the island has learned to balance strength and delicacy without losing its essence. When the wind blows stronger, the sea changes texture. Larger waves arrive, the turtles disappear for a while. Boats adjust their routes. Everything reorganizes itself until the island once again finds its point of balance. And as the boat moves away from the coast, Zakynthos begins to shrink on the horizon. But the color of the sea, that remains. It stays etched in memory like a mark that is hard to erase. A silent reminder that beauty can be absolute. Ahead, the outline of the coastline begins to change. Horizontal cliffs give way to taller forms, narrower, almost vertical, like giant columns rising from nowhere. The landscape stops being only sea and becomes height as well. We leave the blue abyss behind and approach a suspended realm, a place where monasteries were built atop giants of stone, where faith anchored itself to cliffs that tear through the horizon. In the next stage of our journey, Greece will show how rocks can touch the sky. Meteora, the stone monsters that touch the sky. Meteora lies in the region of Thessaly, a valley where gigantic columns of rock rise vertically like towers from another world. These formations are around 60 million years old and seem more like works of art than geological accidents. The landscape emerged through the slow erosion of wind, rain, and time. Layer by layer, the rocks were gradually shaped, growing upward until they became these monumental pillars that now stretch across the valley. Atop these giants, monks sought refuge in the 14th century. They built suspended monasteries more than 400 meters above the ground, as if they wished to draw the spirit closer to the heights and move away from the world at war below. To reach the monasteries, there were no stairways. Monks climbed by ropes and baskets, slowly lifted by pulleys. The difficult access was intentional, a reminder that faith demands effort, courage, and surrender. Today there are 6 active monasteries. The Great Meteora is the oldest and the highest. Inside, Byzantine frescoes illuminate walls that seem to touch the sky. The light enters softly, as if it respected the silence of the place. And here in this setting, it is impossible not to sense the presence of the Creator. The harmony between stone, light, and height suggests an invisible care, a profound purpose. These columns feel like guardians, as if watching over the life pulsing below. In the afternoon, the wind shifts, and the shadows of the rocks stretch across the valley. An orange hue covers everything, as if the sun were painting the day's farewell. It is a silent spectacle, a natural choreography that has unfolded for millions of years. And when night arrives, Meteora transforms. The rocks turn dark like ancient sentinels, and the monasteries glow softly with their small lit windows. The feeling is that of standing before a portal between worlds. Beyond spirituality, Meteora is rich in biodiversity. Eagles circle high above, watching the valley. Wild goats scale impossible walls, and among the rocks, rare plants endure the winds of Thessaloniki. And there is a fascinating curiosity. Many of the monasteries contain internal passages, secret stairways, hidden rooms where manuscripts were protected. These places hold centuries of knowledge and reveal the value these monks placed on wisdom. Meteora was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1988, not only for its geology, but for the union between nature and human spirituality. Here, stone and faith walk together in a rare balance. Look up. Each column seems to defy the impossible. How can structures so slender support such height? Geologists continue to study them, and even so, Meteora preserves its mysteries. And as you walk its trails, the silence changes shape. At times it is light, at times it is deep, but never empty. It is the kind of silence that speaks to those who listen, the kind of silence that modern life has almost erased. And then comes the inevitable moment, leaving Meteora behind. But before that, watch the line of the horizon. The rocks slowly diminish, the plain reappears, and the road points toward northern Greece. We are about to enter a region where cultures have blended for centuries. where different peoples left deep marks on architecture, music, and the flavor of everyday life. A port that once welcomed the world. When the valley fades behind us, we will head toward a vibrant, historic city, bathed in lights and stories that cross eras. A place where tradition and modernity walk side by side. The journey continues, and the Mediterranean opens a new chapter. Thessaloniki, a port of northern lights and stories. Thessaloniki, also known as Salonika, is Greece's second largest city, a port where cultures have met for more than 2,000 years. Founded in 315 before Christ, it was born as a link between the Aegean Sea and the routes leading into the heart of the Balkans. With more than 1 million inhabitants in its metropolitan region, Thessaloniki pulses like a living organism. The modern city stands side by side with Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman ruins. Every corner reveals a memory. Every square holds layers of history. The White Tower, its most famous symbol, rises before the sea. Built in the 15th century, it served as a fortress and a strategic point of defense. Today, the tower watches the Aegean with serenity, like one who has seen the world change many times. At the Rotunda Gallery, one of the city's oldest Roman buildings, impressive mosaics still shimmer on the walls. Here, the past speaks loudly. Golden details, ancient figures, the geometry of stone, all compose a silent dialogue with the visitor. Thessaloniki was also an important Jewish center. Before the Second World War, more than 50,000 Sephardic Jews lived here. They arrived after being expelled from Spain in 1492 and built one of the most vibrant communities in the Mediterranean. Today, museums and memorials preserve this heritage. But the city does not live on history alone. Thessaloniki is young, creative, musical. Its 5-kilometer waterfront, bathed by the Aegean Sea, welcomes residents and travelers every day. The constant breeze, the sounds, the light create an atmosphere that seems to celebrate the present. And since we are here, check if you have already left a like on this documentary. That small gesture helps the channel Our Planet reach new viewers and keeps alive our mission of bringing stories like this to those who love to travel through imagination. In gastronomy, Thessaloniki is a spectacle of its own. Dishes like bougatsa, souvlaki, fresh fish, and oriental sweets reflect its cultural blend. Sitting at a table here is like traveling through centuries in just a few minutes. And when the sun sets, the city changes tone. Lights come on, the sea darkens, and the waterfront glows like a golden necklace resting upon the Aegean. It is one of the most beautiful sunsets in northern Greece. Walking along Naxos Avenue, it is easy to understand why so many peoples passed through here. Romans, Byzantines, Ottomans, Venetian merchants and travelers from all directions. Thessaloniki has always been a meeting place, a welcoming port. The city also preserves remains of the Via Egnatia, the Roman road that connected Constantinople to the Adriatic Sea. Armies, merchants, and imperial messengers once walked here. Today, we walk in search of the stories left along the way. High above the city, the Anopoli district offers a view that seems to freeze time. Colorful houses, narrow streets, and a silence that contrasts with the movement below. From the lookout, you can see the sea embracing the entire city. As we move forward, the sounds fade. A light mist covers the waterfront, as if the Mediterranean were preparing the transition to the next destination. Thessaloniki says farewell slowly, like a place that knows it has left its mark. And now, the journey deepens. After crossing islands, ports, and mountains, the gaze begins to connect the pieces. Different landscapes, distinct histories, yet all pointing towards something greater. The Mediterranean seems to guide thought beyond the places we have visited. The light changes, the sea slows, and the horizon gains a different kind of silence. Not as a pause, but as preparation. It is the moment when Greece ceases to be just scenery and begins to reveal its essence. A space where everything we have seen starts to make sense and new connections form, unhurried, unannounced. Greece holds something that goes beyond landscapes, a sense of depth, as if every island, every stone, every breath of wind carried a story too ancient to be ignored. Here, the Mediterranean seems to have a memory of its own. From the translucent blue of Zakynthos to the vertical silence of Meteora, passing through the alleys of Naxos and the echoes of the Aegean Sea in Mykonos, each place reveals a fragment of this soul, a force that shaped civilizations and continues to shape those who pass through. In many parts of Greece, light behaves in a curious way. It spreads slowly, as if touching every surface with care. Mountains glow for brief moments, the sea responds with gentle reflections, and all of this creates a harmony that is difficult to explain by science alone. As we walk through these landscapes, it is impossible not to think of the ingenuity of the Creator. From the precision of Santorini's cliffs to the grandeur of Meteora's natural columns, Greece seems to have been designed to awaken a special kind of admiration, something silent, profound. And yet the Greek soul is not found only in nature. It lives in the voices echoing through markets, in the aroma of fresh olive oil, in footsteps resonating on ancient streets. Life here carries a quiet strength, as if simplicity were the truest luxury. Sailing through its islands, we realize that each one holds its own rhythm. Some are intense, others serene, some provoke, and others embrace. This diversity creates a Mediterranean that breathes like a great living organism. By the way, it is worth checking if you are already subscribed here on the channel Our Planet. That way you continue receiving documentaries like this, filled with inspiring landscapes, stories that cross centuries, and moments that transform how we see the world. Throughout this journey, we witnessed the power of the waters, the resilience of the rocks, the wisdom of peoples, and the beauty born from the meeting of fragility and greatness. The hidden soul of Greece is this, a collection of contrasts that remain in motion. Perhaps that is why so many travelers return. Because Greece never reveals itself all at once. It offers its layers gradually, like one who trusts those who observe with patience. And with each visit, a new discovery appears. Silent, unexpected. And so we move on, not toward an end, but toward the natural continuation of this journey. Because every place visited opens doors to places even greater, and every gaze cast upon the horizon awakens new questions. Greece leaves us with images that endure, but the journey does not end here. The world still holds untouched landscapes, stories few people know, and places capable of awakening the same feeling you have experienced so far. Everything continues. If this documentary touched you, you cannot imagine what awaits you next. Your next destination is already on your screen, waiting for you. Click and continue with me, exploring the most extraordinary scenarios of creation. Discover the extraordinary around the world. A hug, and until the next journey.